Tom here, Battle Rap Resume, back with yet another episode, yet another guest of interest in the battle rap world. Not necessarily someone who has battled, but someone who has featured on esteemed media and, most importantly, been very complimentary to Battle Rap Resume on Champion. Mike, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, sir. Doing great. As I call myself the most obscure member of Battle Rap Media here. It's an honor to be here, man. I'm a fan of your podcast.
No, great to have you on, man. I mean, a lot of people would have seen you, for example, on the Oxymoron episode. You know, you were there as sort of a quote-unquote Russian guest, right?
Yeah, that was, I guess, the quote-unquote breakthrough performance that kind of, made me a D-list celebrity on Twitter for a week. So, yeah, man.
But I mean, you were also featured on the countdown that just happened on Jay Black's channel, the Battler of the Year. That was I mean, it's always going to be messy, isn't it? The first one of these things. It was very intriguing, very original.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, you have 15 people. It's the first time doing it, so nobody was sure what the format is going to be. But I was happy to be a part of it, and it was definitely a lot of fun. And I think it's just, kind of, the whole point of Champion and what Jay Black is trying to do, I think, is trying to, make battle rap more legitimate, both more legitimate as a sport and more legitimate as a business, I guess. So I feel like, putting out an incentive like that, like, actual Champion of the Year award, both the recognition and the money that comes with it, I think that's a step in the right direction. And again, just have to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was cool you were sitting next to Tony Bro as well.
Yeah, man, I watched back the videos. I honestly didn't know I could get that loud before.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, me and Tony Bro, we had, I think the camera picked up a few like conversations we were having, like kind of just between each other. It was fun, man. Tony Bro he's a good dude, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna have him on the show very soon.
Awesome.
Is why I mentioned. But how long was this filmed? Like, how long did this take? It must have taken so long.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember. I think we got in the venue around, I want to say 2 p.m. and we didn't get out till around 7. So
right.
With a break, about 5 hours, the whole thing.
Jesus. And yeah, it is a glorious mess by urge people to check it out. I'd love to do a UK version. It's definitely made me inspired to sort of transplant that. I think that could be intriguing as well. There aren't as many bloggers, unfortunately, in this scene. But what do you think, out of interest, just of Premier Battles? Have you been following that at all?
Yeah. It's funny. Me and Jay Black, I'm not sure if it's going to come out because neither one of us knew a lot about Premier Battles.
Okay.
But we actually recorded an episode talking about it. Because I do find it very interesting, again, for the same reason that I think it has the same goal as Champion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, kind of making battle rap more legitimate.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff, man. I mean, any of the other leagues that you're aware of, Code Red, Chalked Out?
Yeah, man, all of them. I think, we were recording the day after Chalked Out announced that they're merging with King of the Dot, and I think that's a huge thing. And it kind of lets you know, not to open up any old wounds or anything, but with the whole controversy about and that league's kind of not being able to work out, like that just shows you what could have been, right?
Who are some of your favorites, UK battle wise?
UK battle wise right now, nothing. Probably the quote unquote top tiers. Obviously Gemini. Okay. I think right now he's undefeated. Saul, I've been a huge fan of. To me, he's one of top 5, maybe top 3 writers in the world right now. That's why, I really want to see him go up against like the best of the best. I really, like just Soul versus Daylight, Focus Daylight, JC, Soul versus Sheila, just all those battles are like, oh my god, they just like need to happen.
They do.
Who else? Obviously, Shocks is one of the best punchers in the world right now. I've been on an Agmios kick lately.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
When Agmios is on, I think he's a lot of fun, man. Just the
C major battle, crazy.
Oh, yep, yeah. Yesterday I saw the C major battle, the Quill battle, actually Quill as well. But I think Agmios versus Quill is like one of my favorite UK battles ever. and just the way Agnews writes and creates his rounds, where like I don't know, he can take an angle and then like make a scheme out of an angle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's like again in that Quill battle, the whole first round was about Quill's slogan, right? I don't know, I'm really, really big fan of him. And also he's just a funny dude. I think that's I talk about a lot how there are there's like battle rap funny, and then there's just regular funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Agnews is one of those cats who's like really, really funny dude, period.
And where does it begin for you, out of interest, Mike? Like, where do you get into battles? What do you watch, etc.?
Oh man, so I came to America in 2001. At the time, the only rapper we had, like a Russian rapper who was not that very good, and Eminem were like the only rappers out back in Russia. And then 2001, Nas versus Jay-Z happens, right? And they just sucked me into all of hip hop, basically. So, within like a few months, I'm a backpacker listening to, MF Doom, Def Jux, Louis Logic, and everything that's battle and battle rap involved on LimeWire, right? So I think the first battle, like anticipated battle that I remember like coming out, I think was on LimeWire when Juice versus Supernatural.
Okay.
The two biggest freestyle battle rappers probably ever, right? Yeah. And then, it's kind of just a blur of everything, right? After 8 Mile came out, MTV2 started, there was Fight Club, there were like, and I don't remember what it was called, maybe you can tell me. There were these like MTV battles where like Blind Fury and Philly Swain were on.
Okay. Not too clear, but people can comment below, I'm sure they'll be aware. But,
yeah, I tried finding them on YouTube, I still can, but I definitely remember them going down. Obviously, I was on all the, the hip hop forums, like I think it was All Hip Hop was my go-to.
Right.
So getting all the, the rips from Philly versus Harrisburg battles, the first editions of Smack, with G Mills and Murder Mook going down, and then just I remember going to like who else? Immortal Technique. I was a fan of his first, as a rapper, and then found out his bell, kind of background, and then the two guys I was a huge fan of, and I think it's awesome that they're still relevant, were Serious Jones and Iron Solomon.
Sure.
Again, I was into guys, who are more, I guess, on the funnier side. So, yeah, I remember watching, Iron Solomon had this like YouTube channel. He would just battle random dudes on the streets of New York, and and I think it's funny now, and again, obviously he's probably my all-time favorite, but people are kind of, a lot of people have this angle about him, like, oh, you were reusing lines, but it's like if you watch those battles, it was obvious, that he was reusing lines, but they were still dope, and he was still winning. That was kind of, so trying to think who else. Yeah, again, kind of one thing led to another, and then I went away to college in 2007, kind of stopped watching battle raps. I kind of missed the entire grind time era.
Right.
And then
any WRCs or no?
You know what? No, the only thing I remember seeing the early footage of Ilmac and Thesaurus battling someone. I do remember that, again, on the all hip hop forums, but that's about it, man. I kind of missed that tournament as well. And then I remember just online reading that Murder Mook and Iron Solomon went down. And, obviously that was like an anticipated battle even back then, like right around the time when I stopped watching, like 07, 08, I think. And for it to go down in 2012, I was like, oh, well, when did it happen? And that's kind of, the Summer Madness 2 card, kind of what got me back into battle rap, Not even the battle itself, because obviously Mook and Solomon was a little disappointing. But, seeing him and Holler versus John Dadan, two guys I never heard of at the time, but just seeing that battle, especially Hitman's first round, I was like, whoa, this is like incredible.
Yeah.
And Lola Lux versus Calico was on the channel as well. So those were like the first two, after like not watching battle rap for years, where those were like the first two battles I saw, and then, got me right back in.
And out of interest, were there any vloggers that you were following at the time? Because even back then, there were quite a few names like CJ City, etc.
Nah, man, no. The first battle rap blogger I started following was Unbiased Review.
Oh, infamous.
Unbiased Review, infamous, the one and only, and Jay Black, because Jay Black did a review.
Jay Black was huge, yeah.
of him and John Dadan. I remember that one, and yeah, so those were kind of the first two guys I started following.
Yeah, Jay Black's reactions, I remember, especially for JC Chiller, were amazing. Back when he had that mirrored wardrobe and the battle playing in the background, and they were just, I love the mise en scène of them. They were excellent. Like he's been a great vlogger since forever. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely, man. And I like that because he could have just been that guy, right? He could have just been the reactions guy.
Sure.
And to see him kind of go, to move from from the living room to the kitchen to the set, if you will. I think kind of shows you the evolution.
And that evolution for you then, from being a fan 2012, returning, getting into it again, to being a correspondent, someone who goes on Battle Rap Resume, for example. like how did that happen for you? Were you doing radio? Were you performing elsewhere? Where's that instinct?
No, I mean, as far as I guess hopefully being entertaining and being able to speak relatively well on things like Battle Rap Media and podcast. Actually around 2012 I started doing stand-up comedy.
Right.
So that was kind of just speaking on stage and doing a sketch comedy with few people you meet, doing their podcast, etc. But as far as Battle Rap Media, no, the first time you saw me was my first appearance on Champion, honestly. And the way that happened is I reached out. I think Jay Black put out the first preview video for Oxymoron versus Diz, and he tried to put the title in Russian. And as a joke, I kind of typed it. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm also from Philly." Even though at the time I was living, and still I'm still living in Brooklyn. But I'm like, "Hey, I'm from Philly. If you want somebody to give you translate it correctly, reach out to me." And he really did. He really did reach out to me, and one thing led to another. And yeah, man, took a bus from New York to Philly. I got on the set super late. I think we got in around 9 p.m. and recorded the episode, and then had to take the bus back in the morning so I can make it back to work. But yeah, that's it. That was the first time I ever did anything Battle Rap Media related.
It was a huge episode. It was a huge battle altogether. It was a massive occasion. A great thing to be part of as your debut.
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's the reason why I was like, you know what? Even again, we kind of figured out the day of, the day it was recorded. He kind of just asked me to come down to Philly, and I was like, of course I'm going to do it. This was a hugely anticipated battle, right? Because, I was a fan of Oxymoron and Russian battle rap scene for 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
And that's how long that battle has been anticipated, at least for the Russian battle rap fans. So when it finally got announced and it got that huge trailer, you saw the views it got, just the trailer itself, 500,000 views. And so yeah, for us, this was I joked around at the time, I never understood Mayweather McGregor. I thought that was kind of corny, but for me, that was the most anticipated thing just possible. So obviously, and again, being a fan of the battle and a fan of Jay Black, when he asked me to do the show, it was a no-brainer.
And against Diz is always a battler who makes it an occasion. He is the one who kind of sets the precedent there. He is the sort of gatekeeper to classic status, really. And what did you think of the battle altogether?
Oh, I thought obviously I loved it. I think it was kind of definitely lived up to the hype. I was a little pleasantly surprised, I guess, at Diz. I think it was a very good-natured disaster, but it was still good, which there's not too many good-natured disaster battles which is still good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Usually, his best performances are when he's angry, when there's real, or at least the feeling of real animosity towards his opponent. With disaster, it wasn't really there. I think he knew how many views this was going to get and how it's going to help out his status. So there wasn't really super angry at his opponent at the time. But he was obviously he was good. But I thought Oxymoron was much more, and it's kind of why he won. I thought he was much more personal and he had much more kind of vicious, I guess, towards his opponent.
And as battle rap moves off YouTube for monetization issues, for network issues, whatever, we are seeing it slowly at the moment, and I think it's only gonna, you know, get more and more views are going to be less important. I think this will be the last bastion, really, of huge views. It really was like a blockbuster. It was like a true viral smash. Like, but you just felt the force of all these Russian fans suddenly on battle rap, and it just energized it beyond belief.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that was the best thing I think about it, because I, just like everybody else, I was worried that, you know, because the whole event, I was like, oh man, how are the rest of these battles, how is like B-Dot versus Verb going to turn out? Because of like all the Russian audiences, like, will they even get what's going on? But they seem to get it, and you know, even if you go to King of the Dot battles now, there's still like Russian comments in the section.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of them have, you know, kind of stuck with it, which makes me happy to see. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I do think, you know, battle rap needs to, you know, find, and it has been pretty good at it too, finding like other venues, so to speak, other, you know, forms of generating revenue. And again, I think, you know, both, you know, URL and King of the Dot are kind of going to lead, you know, blaze that trail.
Could there be a market for King of the Dot getting subtitles for most of their big battles, say every Pat Stay battle, whatever, every Bender battle in Russian? Would that have some appeal?
Oh man, I'm not sure, right? I mean, because I think, again, there was some of them have stuck around, but again, you would need like an accountant to answer that question. I have no idea how much that costs, you know. And again, like you said yourself, with the YouTube views kind of meaning less now.
Okay.
You know, as far as money goes, I'm not sure what's the, you know, the reward and the cost, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be dope personally. But you know, I think anything that helps, you know, kind of brings communities together, and you know, I think I would love to see, you know, further down the line, just, you know, seeing different leagues across the world battle each other. I think that would be, you know, amazing.
Are there any Russian battlers other than Oxy that you can imagine battling in English, say on King of the Dot, and being successful?
Oh man, see that I have no idea. There's definitely some that are really good.
Okay.
But again, I have no idea what their, you know, levels of English are like. And
sure,
you know, as a stand-up comedian, like I said, like I think it's, you know, I could tell jokes in English. I can't really do them in Russian, right? Because you kind of lose, you know, wordplay and translation, and all that stuff gets lost. So I'm not sure how, you know, how well the Russian writers can really do it in English, and if they can do it at all. But I mean, I know, you know, most people in Russia, especially in like big cities, they do take English at some point in school, right? So at least they actually have some, you know, sort of abilities. Again, it would be cool to see. There's a few. I think I'm trying to remember. There was a battle in Russian that's a really good battle. It has really good English subtitles. If you want to check out, I can.
Johnny Boy, is he involved in that? It might be someone else.
Well, Johnny Boy and Oxymiron is the big one. Yeah, that's the one that's like English subtitles. But there was like a smaller battle from like a smaller league. I want to say it's PM versus Locomotive.
Okay.
If you want to just look it up. If not, I can. If I find it, I can, you know, always send it to you, and you know, you can post the description and the link.
Yeah, I will. I'll pop it in there. Yeah, that's interesting. And where does it go for you from being on Champion to actually being asked to, you know, this huge ceremony, this huge round table debate?
Sure. Again, I got really lucky. People just seem to, you know, really like, you know, what I brought to Champion. Again, I think it's, you know, the ability to articulate and kind of break down my thoughts and opinions, and you know, again, I got really just good reviews from the people. You know, that's honestly, that's all it came down to. I think if I showed up there and you know, people who didn't like it now, you know, probably wouldn't be asked back, to be honest. But and like, you know, probably, you know, got lucky that my prediction for the battle, right, was kind of correct. A lot of people didn't know what Oxymiron was going to bring, and I kind of told people he was going to come with, you know, the angles and, you know, how he kind of break down his opponent, and that's exactly what happened. So I think that combination of things, you know, just, you know, the kind of doing really well in my first episode is what led to me doing other episodes, which was what led to me being asked to be on the panel.
And the comments are kind to you, as you say, across the videos. People compliment how many battles you've seen. Minnesota Luke calls you the MVP of the round.
Yeah, I thought that was insane.
It's initial round. I mean, Minnesota Luke, living legend, right?
Oh, absolutely. He is, you know, the guy just knows.
Oh my
Again,
god.
it's been said about him a million times, but it's a fact. He's a battle rap encyclopedia,
Hmm.
and it's cool too. I didn't realize he's also from the same similar upbringing. I guess he's also
Mm.
from from the Philly area. So me and him, we kind of talked a little bit about those Philly Harrisburg and all those like Philly Street DVD era.
And as I say, people can check out the debate itself. It goes on for a long time. I think all in all, footage-wise, about 3-4 hours or something. It's multiple videos. It's quite rowdy and opinionated, but definitely stimulating stuff. And what's next for you, man? Are you gonna have your own channel or?
I thought about it. There was many, me and I haven't run the idea past Jay Black. I thought of doing my own recap thing called like the runner up because it's not quite the champion, right?
Sure.
Um, but I don't know, man. I feel like for one, there's like a tons of people who just kind of give their opinions into the camera right now. So I don't really know if there is a need for another one of those. And number two, honestly, I'm just super busy with other things going on in my life right now. I have a full-time job and in school part-time, and there's just so much going on that even as a fan, it's hard to keep up with battle rap.
Sure.
Much less keep up, and then also try to start my own channel and kind of start my own thing. So I think I'll as long as people like yourself, people like Jay Black will have me on their shows. That's kind of right now my avenue.
Yeah.
At least for the foreseeable future.
Sure. That makes sense, man. Definitely. Priorities got to be straight. But, I mean, end with a few quick-fire questions for you just to gauge your taste on a few things. What is your favorite Don't Flop battle?
Favorite Don't Flop battle? Oh, again, I think I am a huge fan of Ogmios versus Squirrel. That one is up there.
Wow. Yeah.
The favorite of time, I mean, it's maybe it's recency bias, but man, Soul versus Shocks the Rebel was just so good, man. Just again, I think all 6 rounds were amazing. Trying to think.
There's some good choices.
I love. This one was I think Shuffle versus Heretic. I thought it was really good battle. As far as obviously I'm a huge Marlon Shuffle T fan.
Come on.
And again, I thought this was like the Shuffle second round. It's just one of my favorite rounds ever from that battle.
What about King of the Dot?
Favorite King of the Dot battle? Let me think. Again, the recent one that comes up is Iron Salmon versus Disaster. I thought that was amazing. Even though this is third round, is a little. I think it's either you love it or you don't. I'm kind of
It's a
on the
quality
rope
taste,
about it.
Yeah.
I thought it started off cool, and then it got weird from there.
Sure.
Try to think. The King of the Dot battle is that. I don't know why, man. You put me on the spot. I thought Past Day versus Disaster. I thought that was the best Past Day ever.
Yeah.
That was a. Let me see.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about URL?
Favorite URL battle? I thought Chilla Jones versus B Magic is probably one of my favorites. I think it's the best writing in the battle ever. I think
probably for both sides. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think people don't understand just how impressive Chilla Jones' writing was.
Yeah.
With the whole, like how his 3 rounds were like the 3 turns in a magic trick. With the, you show the turn and the reveal, that whole thing.
He's one of the only battlers to do that sort of stuff that like marks out his rounds for you and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I think he doesn't even do that anymore. I think
no, he doesn't do it anymore.
Telling him, hey, you're too smart. But it was cool to see him to like take that chance, and I really appreciated that. And of course, B Max, that was probably his best battle as well, but just like the punchline that he had back to back.
Yeah. I think he won. I don't think it was his best battle, but it was a brilliant battle.
Absolutely.
Chilla has like a sort of 32 bird scheme or something, like ridiculous amount of foul.
No, I remember that. I know exactly. So he starts over the whole animal scheme, right? And then he works that into like a Larry Bird punchline in the end with shooting 2 trays in Magic's face. It was amazing. Like nobody was doing stuff like that at the time, and I don't think not too many people can do it now. And it's like it's been 5 years later. So
yeah, it's timeless stuff, man. Is there any other battles? Because I know you've watched a lot of battles that you love. Anyone you want to shout out?
Sure. I mean, the old school bell, obviously, again, I think it was a huge bell at the time. Still holds up as a classic. Serious Jones versus Mook. I thought that was amazing. As far as like smaller leagues, man, I wish you would have asked me earlier. I would have compiled the list for you, man. I don't know why I'm messing up on the spot right now. I think we covered. Let me see. I thought Mac Myron versus B Magic was a real cool battle, especially because like Mac Myron is kind of doing like the B Magic, like almost sound alike in that battle. So it's like almost seeing like almost like a mirror match, if you will. Let me see. I think Quill versus Harry Baker on Don't Flop was a cool, one of the better consoles battle that has ever happened without too much of stretching, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
I thought that was really cool. Man, try to think.
Yeah.
Those are all the ones I can think of right now, man.
It's all good, man. Yeah, why not? We'll close up with the two questions we normally ask at the end as well for no reason. Your favorite film?
Favorite film ever? For years I would say Memento, Chris Nolan's first film. I thought it was amazing.
Great film.
The other movie I really liked that recently came out was I guess a few years ago now, Whiplash. The drama.
Yeah. Haven't seen that, but yeah.
Oh, highly recommend it, man. I think if you're a creative person, like that's to me one of the best films for like anybody who's pursuing a creative endeavor. That to me is like you have to watch that.
Okay. What about your favorite musical artist or band, not hip hop related?
Oh man, growing up actually right before I got into hip hop, when I first came to America, I was a huge Queen fan.
Queen, yes.
Huge, man. I had all the two videos on two videotapes, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I had the CD-ROM with all the albums on it. I was a huge Queen fan. Right now, non-hip hop, who I really like, what's his name? The National are really cool.
Okay.
Which is not very opposite of the Queen, if you will.
Yeah, interesting.
Much sadder. Yeah, those would be kind of top of my head right now. What's the name? Oh, Surfer Blood. I thought, kind of. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Yeah, I'm aware. Not listened to them, but yeah, aware of them.
I think they have really really good guitar riffs, kind of back to basics rock music, if you will. Okay. A lot of R&B stuff. I like, obviously Frank Ocean stuff. I think is really dope. D'Angelo, I like people out now.
D'Angelo, yeah,
his stuff is really good.
Yeah, D'Angelo.
Blacking out. What's the guy's name? He put out two albums that I really like in the same year. One was Anderson .Paak. There you go.
Okay.
He's really dope too.
And how do people get at you? Your Twitter, etc.
Sure, it's my Twitter name is just Mike Alloy. That's it, man. Just, no underscores, no anything.
No, that's it. We'll put it in the description of the episode. But Mike, this has been great, man. This has been great getting you on the show finally. Obviously I really appreciate genuinely that you mentioned Battle Rap Resume at the end of Champion, man. That was cool to see.
Cool
to see.
Thank you for doing this, man. So again, love your podcast, and again, pleasure to be on. Really appreciate it, man.
Of course, it was great. Please check out all of Mike's clips that we mentioned. We'll pop them below. But everyone, thank you so much. Please support the show, Patreon. If you support, you get access to a sort of Patreon podcast feed. You can listen to all the episodes on your phone directly rather than unlisted, which we appreciated. People didn't really want to do. So support us there. Leave a review. Follow Mike. But finally, Mike, it's been great. Thank you again, man.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.